The Enlightenment, the American and French Revolutions, the Napoleonic Wars and industrialism in Western society all coalesced to inspire the various political and socio-economic ideologies that exist today. Each ideology was closely aligned to a growing sense of nationalism, which naturally translated into an interest in educational enterprise. The American Revolution attempted to end British rule in the colonies for the same reasons that Brutus established the Roman Republic. The absence of a heavy church presence or monarchs required that revolutionary leaders work to form a national consensus among the colonies. The result was a republican experiment. A natural consequence of this new form of governance was nationalism. American intellectuals desired to develop an educational system that would serve the cause of nation building. Benjamin Rush was one such intellectual who insisted that education be used to indoctrinate the youth on their duties to the Republic. He argued that there was need for a distinctly American form of education designed to reinforce patriotism and nationalism. Benjamin Franklin was another scholar from this time period. He recommended the establishment of an English grammar school, which focused on a practical curriculum. The emphasis was on English, which was a language of commerce and daily discourse rather than Latin. Students could learn a second language depending on their vocational interest. The French Revolution was inspired in part by the American Revolution. The French wanted to replace the Bourbon autocracy and the heavy influence of the French Roman Catholic Church with an enlightened government. However, it was actually a financial crisis which precipitated the Revolution of 1789. Like the American Revolution, the result was a growing sense of nationalism, even though the French Revolution was not as successful as was the American. As a result of the formation of the French Republic, French became the national language and non-French languages were eliminated. Education became the way to stimulate national uniformity. The citizen who lived in the Republic would through education be taught how to love and defend his nation. Political and financial instability pervaded the new French Republic, and there was a leadership vacuum which paved the way for a heroic personality. Napoleon Bonaparte was that personality. He was fundamentally indifferent to religion and practiced Machiavellian duplicity, which eventually caused him to make errors, leading to his demise. Napoleonic education was characterized by intellectual repression. In Napoleon's words, instruction was intended to prepare citizens who would be devoted to their religion, to their prince, to their fatherland, and to their family. Napoleon said that religion is excellent stuff for keeping common people quiet. Napoleon practiced a form of nationalism, but with a dictatorship inclination. The prevailing ideologies during this time were liberalism, conservatism, and socialism. These were direct replacements for the previous commitment to establish religions and monarchies, and all had the interest of the nation as a fundamental concern. Meshed in each ideological reference were societal concepts which were automatically reflected in the educational system. For example, conservatives viewed the school as an agency of cultural transmission and preservation, while liberals viewed it as an instrument for change and thus conducted the business of school to reflect their views. Each ideology, as can be expected, had a different impact on the cause of popular education. Liberalism most resembled the theories of the Enlightenment period and reflected the views of the growing middle class. Liberals argued for freedom of thought and opted for free trade. The government was seen as a passive policeman whose functions were to maintain order, enforce contracts, and preserve property. By the middle of the 19th century, two ideologically distinct camps grew out of liberalism. The classical liberals held firmly to the laissez-faire principles of Adam Smith, while the reformed liberals recommended positive social legislation to provide welfare benefits for the greatest numbers of people. The reformed or modern liberals were influenced by Jeremy Bentham's philosophical radicalism and John Mill. Beginning with the 1860s, educational enterprise was fueled by a few events. Industrialization provided a surplus of funds so that large systems of elementary schools could be established. Industrialization also caused urban areas to become densely populated, making it more feasible to have schools that housed and served many children. Finally, family structures and traditional values had undergone change as a result of industrialization, and schools were natural replacement. One of the main proponents of conservatism was Edmund Burke. He believed that genuine change resulted from gradual historical processes. Burke stressed the principle of historical continuity. He believed that social class distinctions were necessary and natural occurrences in an organic society. Conservatives stressed the importance of social stability and believed that change should be reduced to a minimum. Advocates of conservatism believed that the proper role of education was to preserve language and tradition by transmitting the cultural heritage to future generations. In short, the basic goal of education should be the preservation of the status quo and to maintain cultural continuity. Socialism appealed to the urban working class. Two groups of socialists existed then and still do today. The democratic socialists, who believed that society could be socialized through parliamentary means, and Marxist communists, who believed that socialism could come only through revolution. There were also utopian socialists, such as Robert Owen, who hoped that society could be renewed by voluntary cooperative communities. Urbanization and industrialization forced people to live in ways that could be considered dehumanizing. Humanitarian reformers proposed a number of solutions to ease the pain of the new society. Education was at once a natural route to the restoration of humanity because it was seen as a way to alleviate social problems. Idealism and Romanticism were two other isms influencing society during the 19th century which cannot be overlooked. Unlike the other isms discussed, these two ideologies were not directly related to economic interests. Nationalism sought to use the educational system to stress the value and importance of loyalty to the state. Romantics did not attempt to analyze nature for its benefits, but felt that nature could teach them about the universe. The ideologies of the 19th century were in one way or another influenced by previous historical events. Each of the ideologies discussed still exists in one form or another today. It seems that the adage, "the more things change, the more they stay the same," is not entirely impractical.